The spent rods have been inside the heavily shielded reactor vessel. They're about to come out. Back at Dungeness, the huge job of decommissioning the nuclear power station has reached a critical point. Andy and Paul are about to lift spent fuel from the core of the reactor. Packaged inside metal rods, the fuel is radioactive and toxic and has to be handled with care. A remote control grab lifts fuel rods from inside the reactor. Andy checks all's well by video link.
So we're now coming up to the viewing zone, and here we've got the jaws that are attached, and this is the first time we see the actual fuel element, and this is part of the spider, and you can see the actual fins now of the fuel element.
Then they drop down chutes into the storage ponds. 20 foot of water keeps the rods cool and shields the workers. Spent fuel rods are more radioactive than fresh ones. From now on, all operations are underwater.
As we're now discharging the fuel down, everything is recorded.
Next job, move the rod to a storage skip. The fuel's going to leave the building in flasks, but they're not the sort you'd use to keep your tea warm. Each flask weighs 50 tons, made of 14-inch thick steel. It's watertight, airtight, and it's been designed to survive an 80-mile-an-hour train crash. And to prove it, in 1984, they did just that. Crashed a train at over 80 miles an hour into a nuclear flask laying on the track, with its most vulnerable parts exposed. The flask survived without spilling its contents. The train didn't. The flask takes a shower. By soaking the paint with clean water, it won't absorb contaminated water from the pond.
We're lowering the flask down into the flask loading bay. Then he'll take the flask right down to the bottom of the ponds. It's slightly caustic. I mean, you wouldn't want to go swimming in it, that's for sure.
You wouldn't want to go swimming because A, at the bottom of the pond are a load of radioactive fuel rods, and B, the water is caustic to stop the fuel rods corroding. If that happens, radioactive sludge would form and build up on the bottom of the pond. And that's hard to get rid of. The Dungeness ponds are very clean, but that doesn't mean they're completely safe.
Obviously the water's contaminated and there is a certain amount of radiation coming off from the ponds, but it's still well within safety limits.